Hey guys, so in today's video we want to talk a little bit about food quality and industrialized food. So there used to be a point in time where everything found on Earth was organic. But now with the industrialized food system and mass production, things have decreased the quality and added a lot of different things to our food, so we don't really know what we're eating, and that can be quite scary, not knowing what's in your food.
Or the quality of what we're eating.
So I'm going to define a couple of terms today and give you a little bit of insight on some things that happen to our food along the way from factory to plate or farm to plate. So one thing that is big, especially in the meat industry, is grass-fed versus grain-fed dairy products. So this could be red meats, milk, that sort of thing. So cows are supposed to be herbivores and eat grass. They're ruminants, I think the name is. They have 9 stomachs. They're meant to metabolize only grass. And when you give an animal a food that it's not supposed to eat, it gets very sick. And we have a big surplus of corn in this country. We have lots of cornfields out west, so we can cheaply give this cattle corn and they get very sick, and then we have to give them hormones. So not only are they eating a food product that they're not supposed to eat, but now we're giving them hormones. And a good saying is you're not only what you eat, but you are what you eats. So if the cattle or the beef that you're eating ate corn, or if it got a bunch of hormones, you're getting all of that stuff. So the quality of that food is diminished. They've found that omega-3, which is a healthy fatty acid, is much higher in grass-fed cows than it is conventional fed cows or grain-fed cows. So when you have the opportunity, especially when it comes to meats or your milk, if you're going to have dairy milk, try to choose a grass-fed organic milk if possible, and that will be a little bit higher quality. There'll be more omega-3s, and there won't be any hormones. So given the chance, anytime you can make a switch to get a better quality meat, try to take it.
Yeah. The other term that we're going to discuss is, if you look at like fish labels, is wild caught versus farm raised. The big difference here is, again, the quality of what you're getting. Wild caught means that it was caught in the ocean waters. Farm raised is, it was like it says, it's farm raised in like a pen. And what will happen is, again, the difference, the quality what we're talking about is the fat levels, and a lot of times it's like the metal levels in the fish.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways that they can farm raise fish. They either have a tank on land, or they kind of have like a little pen, like a netted area in the ocean, and they use the ocean as their pen. But either way, with farm raising, whether it's shrimp or fish, they give them, again, because we have a ton of corn in this country, they give them grain, they give them corn. And that is not conducive to their healthy life, like a healthy life for them, nor good nutrition for us. We're not going to get the healthy omega-3s that we're after. So fish is a great high-quality fat source. Fish oil obviously derives from fish. If you have a farm-raised fish, it does not have any of those healthy omega-3s. So salmon, for example, which is a beautiful bright red color full of omega-3s, if you take like a wild-caught salmon, it'll be like a blood red. And if you take a farm-raised, it'll be kind of a pink. And the reason for that is they're not eating the krill that they naturally ate in the ocean. They ate corn. So their meat, if you look at their meat before they process it, it's actually white or clear, and they dye it pink.
I was going to say, yeah.
They dye it pink to try to mimic its actual color, and they do a poor job, because if you look at it in the grocery store, if you look like a wild piece of salmon, it's dark red, and a farm-raised one is kind of a pinkish color. So they're vastly different nutritional values too. The wild caught is going to be much more nutritious. So if you're looking for nutrition, definitely choose the wild caught if possible. If you're looking for more of an ethical standpoint, it is more sustainable to have farm raised. So from an environmental standpoint, we're not going to be overfishing our oceans. So it's another benefit to, not only because it's cheaper, but it's saving overfishing in the ocean. So there is a pro and con there. But if that is a concern, I usually eat wild caught, but fish that are in abundance. So here in New England, cod isn't abundant. So you can still eat wild caught without endangering our environment if that is a concern.
Yeah, and you'll see on the label it'll say wild caught, but it will also mention sustainability, that they practice sustainability with their fisheries. So if that is a concern of yours, you can get the best of both worlds. Just look at that label. They're pretty proud of it when they do fish like that. So when they fish responsibly, and it'll be right there on that label. So the other terms we're going to discuss is eggs. Even at the supermarket, no matter which supermarket you guys shop at, you've probably seen all the labels. There's caged, there's free range, there's pasteurized, and if you're ever at a farm stand or driving by, you'll just see signs that say farm fresh. So the differences between all these labels is cage is obviously just that. These birds are in a cage, there's hundreds of them in a little space, don't even have room to walk, and that is where they stay their entire life. Free range means they have access to outdoors. So it means they are inside, but there is a door so they have access to go outside. Typically, though, they will go with the easiest route when it comes to being fed. So they will still have, the feed that's given to them from the farmers. Better is pasture raised. You'll see that on some of the smaller labels, usually like the plastic containers. And this means that those chickens are outside to eat. So they're eating, the grass, the bugs that they're supposed to eat. And then better yet is still the farm fresh. If you see those birds are obviously outside. There is no cages available to them, and they're local and they're extremely fresh. Mm-hmm. So the benefits to doing pasture raised, farm fresh is similar to above. The animal is what it eats. So if it's a healthy bird, you're going to get a healthier egg. If you guys have ever bought fresh eggs, you'll notice that the yolk is like a bright orange gold versus like a pale yellow that you might see in just a regular caged egg at the grocery store. So the nutritional level in those eggs is actually much higher.
Yeah, so with any type of food, you'll see a couple different terms. You'll see conventional, which is basically, industrialized or grain-fed if it's an animal product, or they use pesticides if it was a produce product. So conventional is kind of the mass production, factory, industrialized version of the product. Natural is basically the same thing. It's just a made-up term. So anytime you see the word natural, it's a way for them to charge an extra $1 or $2 for basically nothing. So natural, there's no regulation. You could have a product that has hormones in it or has, genetically modified things.
Tons of sugar. It's just
added sugar.
Yeah.
If they want to call it natural, there's nobody telling them that they can't.
Natural does not mean healthy.
Yeah, and technically anything is natural. Gasoline could be called natural. Doesn't mean it's good for you. And then there's organic. And organic isn't perfect either, but it does go through some guidelines. The USDA approves it and gives it a seal. So if we're talking about meat, it can't have added hormones. That animal has to have been fed its natural diet, or I apologize, an organic diet. So you can have organic beef that's not grass-fed. Unfortunately, there's a way around that so they can still feed the cattle corn if it was organic corn. So there are still some loopholes. Usually the best is farm fresh because local farmers are going to, abide by natural practices. Their cattle are going to be fed grain, their chickens are going to eat bugs and things like that. And they may not go through the certification process to be called organic because it's very taxing. It's a hard process and it costs money. But usually farm fresh local food is going to be very nutritious and it's going to end up being organic or close to anyway. So in closing, I guess, try to find the better quality food if you can, and particularly those things like red meats, dairy products, I think. And if you're talking about produce, sometimes a rule of thumb is if it has a peel, generally you can maybe go with the conventional version of it. If it's more of a berry, something you're going to eat like as is, try to go with like an organic version. And that's might be a way to kind of budget. What should I buy organic? What should I kind of save and buy conventional?
Yeah. So as we wrap up though, guys, don't forget that we are still focusing on carbs this week. So we want you guys to really hammer in this week. We started doing it last week. This week we really want to see, you know, a lot of complex carbs on those food logs. This is our second week of this subject, so we really want to make sure that we don't see, you know, the white rices, the Wonder Breads, croissants, like those types of things on your log. So really work on making those switches for us this week on those food logs.